Hey Basketball Nation, how you doing again? And today we want to talk about the Raptors game against the Boston Celtics. Now, I have to say that that game last night, the Raptors actually came out. They played well, came out the gate. For the first half, they were leading. I think they were up by 14 points at one point. So they had the game in control. But one of the things that we've seen with the Raptors is they have a tendency now, and it's becoming a trade for them, unfortunately, where in the second half the wheel completely fall off the wagon, and then we have turnovers. We have a lot of missed open shots and poor defense. You know what I mean? And with a good team like Boston, whenever you slip, they'll make you pay the price. And last night, Jason Tatum went off. I mean, this guy is a beast, man. He went off. He had 40 points. Jalen Brown had a few big shots in there too, and all of the threes that the Raptors were hitting, they made all their threes in the first half, and that's why they were up. But the problem is the Raptors is as a team, they live and die by their three. So if they're making it great, if they're not making it bad, because then they're missing a lot of shots, and because they're one of the worst teams in rebounding, they end up getting rebounded a lot inside the paint and for defensive that rebounds that get out in the court. So that is one of the biggest problem with the Raptors. They consistently shoot trees no matter what the situation are. If they're missing them, they're still taking them, and when they miss, then they don't get the rebound. And then when you're playing a team like Boston Celtics or really good teams, they're gonna make you pay the price. So in the first half, they were holding, they were hitting all their threes. They played really well in the first half, and in the second half, they start missing their 3 pointers. And like I mean, Boston weren't missing. These guys were hitting their threes almost on cue, right? They missed a few, but many of the major ones they were just hitting them one after the other. Jason Tatum hit a few big ones. Jalen Brown hit a few big ones. So they were hitting their threes all throughout the game. The Raptors have a tendencies, and this was from I think even from even the Kawhi era, where they go to these stretches where they just go scoreless, right? What I've saved the Raptors when they go through that drought was they had a really good defense, and we had Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol, and those guys played really good defense. So even when they go through these scoring droughts, we had good defense to pretty much hold us over until they get hot again. Unfortunately, now we don't have that anymore. Masai Ujiri decided to gamble, and instead of giving Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol, like 2 years on their contract, he was going for 1 year because he was trying to make room for Giannis. Now that ended up backfiring because Giannis decided to re-up with Milwaukee. So therefore, that option is off the table, and now you lose your two main guys, your two centers, I should say, and now it's a free for all where every team that the Raptors plays is coming away with a win. And we're going further in the season now, and we're deep in the season, sixth game, and we only win one out of the six. Right, we're in a 4 game, stretch where we're losing games. 5 game we have lost out of the six, and that's not a good look. And now we're going to go off into the East and play some fairly, decent teams, and decent teams are beating the Raptors. So, one of the thing that I saw last night was a welcome sign, but because I guess he's been sitting on the bench for so long, he hasn't produced. He didn't did a lot of good stuff. Was Malachi Flynn, who a lot of people have been asking for. So last night he brought Malachi Flynn out, and I don't know if he's been sitting for so long where he didn't contribute a lot, but it was a welcome time sign to see him out there. And pretty much like I said, the team played well, but to play against good team, you can't play well. You have to play really good. The defense on the Raptors has been like a problem all season because Aaron Baines is not good enough. Okay is not good enough to win games, and that's where Aaron Baines is. He's okay, but he's not good enough. And our defense is really suffering because we're not getting a lot of rebounds. And the fact of the matter is, when we go to these shooting droughts, we don't have a player or players on the team that can hold down the defensive end to bring us over that stretch. And that's what's been hitting the Raptors. And the Raptors now is one of the worst teams in the NBA as far as rebounding, and we're giving up a lot of rebounds. And most of these rebounds that we give up, turns into offense for the other team, right? Second chance opportunities, and that's one of the main problem. Because how that was a problem is the Raptors are a 3 point shooting team. Now, when they're making them, that's okay. But the problem is when they're missing them, and when the Raptors are missing, they're still shooting nonstop. And every time they shoot, and because they're a bad rebounding team, when they shoot and miss, that's an open opportunity for the other team. So they shoot, they keep shooting, and even when they're missing the shots, they still keep shooting, and that's when the other team gets the second chance opportunity, because when they miss their rebounds, the other team go up on the other end of the court and they score. And a team like Boston Celtics, you can't miss the mark because, like I said, a guy like Tatum is a beast. A guy scored 40 points on us last night because he was hitting threes. He just went off on the Raptors, and these are mistakes you can't make when you make a good team, because they will make you pay. So for all those bad 3 pointers that they miss, Boston get the rebound. Boston brings up the score out the floor, and Boston hit. And Boston were hitting their rebounds. I mean, they're hit their 3 pointers. They were hitting them like on cue. Like they were just hitting 3 pointers from everywhere. So the Raptors 3 point couldn't even keep up with Boston, and they just pretty much really put they really lit the Raptors up, and they end up winning by 12 points. So for us, the hurting continues. And I don't know what's going to happen at this point for this team. The only thing I can say that they played a little better than I've seen before. Pascal Siakam, he played a little bit better too as well. I mean, he made a monster dunk in that. He made a few threes and a few layups. So that's somewhat of a welcome sign. Is can he progress with that, right? So this game, even though they lost this game, I have to say that they played well considering, but not well enough for a team like Boston that had two main offensive threat that was out. So can you imagine if those two guys that I think Marcus Smart is one of the guys that's out, and another guy I don't remember his name right off the top, but another guy was out, and they still beat Raptors by a big margin. I think there was a point in the game that they were up maybe by 20. For a large part of the third, they were beating Raptors by 20 points, right? So the fact that they managed to win by 12, we didn't get blowout completely. That's pretty much, you can say it's okay, but a loss anyway. It doesn't matter if you lost by 1 point or you lost by 40 points. The bottom line is we've been losing and just had to the losing that we have. So we're in a two-game losing slide right now. We're in a losing spell right now where we played 6 games and we only win one out of the six. So the other five, what happened to the other 5 games, right? We saw all end up in losses, and the only team that we beat was a team that was really good in the New York Knicks. So now we're going in a West Coast swing. It's going to be interesting to see how that play out, because we're playing some fairly good teams in the West, right? So we have to see how that plays out. And if the Raptors can learn a lot from this game and capitalize and play a lot better than they play, they can manage to pull out a win. Because last night, compared to all the games that I've seen, they played well last night. But they were playing a much better team than them, because that's the team that blew us out of the playoff last season, and they came back and they really cleaned our clock for us. So it's very, very, it's unfortunate to see, and it hurts anyway for the Raptors fan to see the team just losing and can't seem to pull out a win. But this game, I have to say, one of the things that hurts the Raptors is, second half bad 3 point attempts, and most importantly too, rebounding. I mean, the Raptors are being rebounded by almost every team that they played, out rebounded. They're probably one of the worst team in the NBA in terms of getting rebounds, right? So when they go into those spells where they're shooting bricks, the fact that they're not getting the rebound, this is where they get hurt. And when you're playing good teams, they will make you pay. When you miss a 3 pointer, they just come down the other end and make their 3 point shots. Or if not, they get and ones. And that's another thing that we've seen in the Raptors. Their defense is so poor that, they still make idiotic fouls that always resulted in and ones. And when we see other teams, when other teams comes into the paint, they either get a layup or and one, or they score. And this is where the Raptors defense, they're not doing good at boxing guys out. They're not doing a good job of protecting the paint. So any team that decide to play that are playing the Raptors can decide to go at them full force. And if you go at the Raptors full force, you can tear down their interior defense because the interior defense is weak. Aaron Baines is not good enough. He's okay, but okay doesn't win you games. And this is where the problem is. The Raptors defense has become so weak that teams are just ripping us apart. They're killing us from 3-point range, and when they go into the basket, it's almost like a 3-point play because most of the time they get an and one, and if they don't get an and one, they win anyway because the Pelicans game, all the Pelicans won was the Pelicans was getting to the line. And that's the problem with the Raptors. That a lot of teams are going to the line way too often because the Raptors defense is really, really weak. And as a result, teams can win just by going to the free throw line because these guys are making idiotic, dumb fouls. And every time these team play, you're going to the Raptors defense, you're going to walk away with something. And that was one of the things that frustrated me with the Pelicans game because they could have won that game easily, but making foolish fouls and sending the guy, but even when they were missing all their shots, all they do is just go into the paint and they get fouled and they get to the 3-point free throw line. And that's how Pelican win that game. This game with the Boston, however, Boston was shooting threes. Jason Tatum went off, and they just make the Raptors pay for every mistakes they make. So as long as the Raptors can learn to clean that up and take something away from the game, that game they can be in a much better position. Okay, so I'll tune again for the next game. Like I said, if you have any comments or you have any, comments that you want to drop about the game itself or anything that I've said, go ahead, drop your comments in the comment section. If you like my videos, all you got to do is give me a thumbs up and look for my next video. Okay, so till next time, take care. See you then.